gorgeous people. It's so good to see you guys. And I see both of our audience members are participants in the Christmas video, so thank you very much. You're superstars in my eyes. So I have got Joseph Batzel. And you guys, if you missed the first call with Joseph, it's just this gentleman with life experience, career experience, is a giant among giants. And literally, the people in the audience were crying in floods of tears at the last call. I've never before or since had a call like that, Joseph. And Joseph, you have a lifetime. Tell us, for the people that weren't on the first call, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Because you have a fascinating backstory.
Yeah. First of all, I was born with a paralysis of my right arm, and I can't use my hand or have much functionality with my right arm and whatever. So I was kind of a shy kid, very introverted, so to speak. But as I grew older and I became more aware of life, my talents, my abilities, I just kind of reached out and started working in the industry of impersonations, and started out like 12 years old, and I would just listen to these different personalities like John Wayne, whatever, and I would just imitate them. And back then we had these little reel-to-reel recorders, and I would record myself in this little microphone. And then eventually I got out to the point where I would try out for contests and talent contests. So I developed being able to do Elvis Presley. And so I went into these talent contests and I would win these talent contests. And from that, it kind of led from me to go to junior college in Utah, in Florida at that time. And I decided to switch majors. I was a PE major. And I switched majors and I became a theater arts major. And from there, my life just kind of changed completely. And I got a scholarship in theater to go to Brigham Young University here in Utah.
But
And
you went through quite a bit of trials and tribulations to get to this point because of fighting for your own self-worth, right?
I was bullied a lot.
Yeah.
I had to get over that part of my life. But anyway, so I did, and I went to Brigham Young University, and I was able to join the first professional film academy they had as a graduate student. And so that's how I got involved in film and all of that and voiceover. And so that led to me getting an agent in my late 40s, almost 50 years old. And I got an agent in Salt Lake City. And then I was very blessed, and my career just took off like crazy.
And this was acting, not voice.
This is voiceover.
This was voiceover. Sorry, I got that wrong.
I was doing acting as well, but I had so many voiceover jobs because I was trained by, Linda Bierman, wonderful person you had on. She trained me. And so I went to these workshops. So by the time I left, I had over 100 credits in voiceover.
Wow.
And it was just amazing. I just had so many opportunities. But I think it was because I did, remember all those funny voices I did? I could just change my voice on a commercial or whatever it was. And so with that, I decided to branch out after I, wanted to be an educator as well. So when I left college, I was a teacher full-time and did this part-time. So I was teaching full-time at the high school level.
What were you teaching?
I was teaching theater.
Yeah.
And speech and English. You name it, I taught it. But I did that full-time, and I would still balance my career at the same time. So I would leave school like at 3:30 in the afternoon, go to Salt Lake, which is an hour away, and audition for film, voiceover, whatever it was. And I would do that for years and years. In the interim, I also became a full-time tennis coach. And so I coached both girls and boys in tennis. And I also took over the whole theater department. became chairman of the whole theater department at the high school. Then I finally retired in like 2006, semi-retired, and I got a job at the university. So I became an adjunct faculty at the university, and I've been there now 23 years. And so in that interim, I decided to get involved in audiobook narration, right?
Yeah.
Because I had this downtime because I was only teaching part-time. And so I got involved in audiobook narration. I did my first book, and somebody reached out to me, and I did this book. It took me 75 hours to do the whole book because I didn't know anything about audiobook narration at all. Had 33 characters that I was able to do. And that was my career. And from there, it just blossomed. And then now I became now I'm a full-time acting coach for a wonderful actress. I'm going to give her a shout out, Ankita Patney. Look for her in the future. Wonderful, wonderful.
She's on the call, I think.
Yeah. Ankita, you are on the call. All right.
Hi, Ankita.
Good to see Ankita. Yeah. Ankita is my wonderful young actress that I teach out of New York City. She's from New York City, graduated from the University of Maryland, and her family originally came from India. And just a beautiful young actress. Look for her in the future because she is going to be a star. I'll just tell you that right now.
I think you've mentioned her before. I've got to say, Ankita, I think Joseph's mentioned you before. I think you're going to be famous before you're even famous, if Joseph has anything to do with it.
No, Joseph is the best acting coach, mentor in the world.
I would believe it. I would believe it. Well, you have a wealth of experience, don't you, Joseph? And I love that you have tenacity as well.
I do. And you know, the thing about it is that I've learned is this. I learn as much from my students as they learn from me. And Keita's 26, going on 27, and she's opened my mind to young people, right? I'm 74. And so sometimes we get a little closed-minded, and that's the one thing I think we have to be careful of in all of the business, right? We're looking at all these different generations, and we have a tendency to be kind of like a know-it-all all the time, right? And what we have to learn is that we're sharing information. We're learning from each other. And the more we learn from each other, the more we grow together.
That's interesting that you say that.
Gaps.
If you don't mind me interjecting, that
Sure.
brings me, because the last call, Johnny and Joanna and I were talking about TikTok. And Joanna it was a very good point. She was saying that she books plenty of work and she doesn't have to book it straight off TikTok. And I was saying that I've learned from Andy, who's relatively young herself, Andy Garcia, that you just pick whatever social media that you like. You have to like it so that you can show up authentically. I don't feel like I have time for TikTok. So there are a lot of others, and TikTok isn't my favorite, but I don't think anyone was putting TikTok down. So I think everything's fluid in this digital world, isn't it? We all need to be open-minded to, there's a very valid point from what Joanna was saying, but there's a lot to you don't have to be tied to one specific social media platform just because everyone is.
That's right.
Yeah. But yes, of course you keep open to younger people, and then younger people keep open to older people and everyone in between. And I hate the division. I hate the labels.
Right. You know what? Here's what I've learned through my years of experience. We're all people. You know,
Yeah.
I've worked with some of the biggest people in the industry. Okay. And you know what I found out? They still put their pants on just like I do. I know that's an old cliche, but I've found that out. And the bigger they are, the nicer they were. The smaller the star, a little bit of diva would come out sometimes, especially when I was a casting director and I'd be working with some of these people and go on a set. and they were, I don't know, I don't want to say small potatoes, but small potatoes in the industry, but in their own mind, they were wonderful. And sometimes I'd have to go on the set and say, you know, you can't treat people like this. You know, they'd be like, bring me some water, do this, do that. And I think you can't do that to people on the set. You just can't do that. And so, yeah, but, and I think we just have to remember we're all people. And the one thing that I was taught by a religious leader, he said, it doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how much success you have. At the very end, we're all going to go in the same box. And he says, if we can kind of keep that in perspective, it'll allow us to live together in more harmony.
I've noticed we do it in this, I do it. I know we all do it in this, in the acting profession. We tell stories about who we are and our insecurities. And before you know it, 40% of your time is being wasted on your story. By the time you have to actually do something, you're paralyzed. You said you had an example, a story about that.
About the learning
about insecurities and people.
Oh yeah. I was diagnosed here recently with essential tremors. You guys all know what that is, right? And
is it Parkinson's?
It's not Parkinson's, but it causes the voice to be affected, voice box, and also shaking, sometimes of my head, involuntarily shake, or my hand.
Okay.
Mainly my thumb. It's in my thumb right now. But they said it's not Parkinson's. They tested me for that.
Okay, good.
But what I learned from that was the fact of, here I am, an audiobook narrator. I'm also a university instructor. My voice is my life, right? Yeah. So I had the wonderful opportunity to be able to get a grant and study for 6 weeks with PJ Auckland,
yeah.
I think, right? And he taught me something in there. He said, it isn't what you can't do with your voice, it's what you can do with your voice. And I said, really? He goes, yeah. He says, because if it's raspy, then do an old guy. If it's not raspy, then you have a good day. Well, it led into a beautiful story by a guy by the name of Ralph Webster, is an award-winning author, okay? And I did a sample, and it was the same voice thing I did with your, when we had our last interview, which has been a while, with the old man that you said people cried, right?
Yeah.
He listened to it. He immediately emailed me and said, it was on Amazon, and he says, look, he says, ACX, he says, I need you to do my book. I said, I don't really know you. I said, and he goes, well, let me introduce myself. And he introduced himself. And it's a wonderful book about, it's called The Piano Bench. And it's about this guy, he's a German doctor, and he's facing the whole tracing his life back, starting from 1879 to 1962. And Ralph and his wife, Ginger, they basically knew this guy's wife. So a lot of this is just very accurate. Well, I told him, I said, I've got this essential tremors. He says, I don't care if it takes you a year and a half to finish my book. I don't want anybody else to do it but you.
Wow.
And so there'd be days that I would do the chapter and I send him a couple of chapters. We become really, and that's the other thing that I would recommend is get to know your authors. He and I talk on the phone now. We text each other. And boy, have I learned a lot about doing the book by talking to Ralph. Because he communicates everything to me. And he's so kind and he's so gentle. But, you know, and so I said to him, I said, I'm pretty raspy today. He goes, I don't care. I don't care. Let's hear what it sounds like. Well, that particular chapter was really emotional. It's the first time that he's a German doctor, by the way, but it's the first time that he finds out he's having a child. And I'm so raspy. I'm crying a little bit, my voice and everything. And he listened to the chapter the other day and he goes, perfect. It was perfect, the raspiness. And it taught me a valuable lesson, right? As long as I can speak and God gives me a voice, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it as well as I can. As if I can teach with it, with Ankita or whoever I'm teaching voiceover classes, I'm gonna use it as long as I have it, because I don't know how long my voice will hold out in the future. And so
Animals do that, don't they? We all
Yeah.
have pets when they get older, and then
yeah,
you get older and things don't work as well,
Yeah,
but they still live their
right.
lives and they do everything they can do.
That's right.
And
As long as you can, do what you can. That's
Yeah.
what PJ said. Just keep going, Joe. Keep going till you can't speak anymore.
But the doing is so important. I'm really realizing lately
Yeah.
how little doing we do and how much thinking we do about what we're doing or not doing. It's just such
Right.
a waste of time.
Right. Yeah, I think,
Insecurity and
yeah. Well, the human part of us, we always kind of want to be a self-critic, right? Like, oh, I'm not having a good day today, or it's not going to sound good, or whatever it's going to be. And that procrastination then leads to us sometimes not doing it.
yeah.
Because I talked to some people and they said, oh, I just had a bad week and whatever. And I said, well, what about your deadlines? And they said, oh, I had to call and extend my deadlines and whatever. And I just said, well, and I told them my story a little bit. And they go, oh, that kind of motivates me. And so, yeah, I think we can get to the point we can talk ourselves out of anything.
Yeah.
If there's anything I've taught people when I teach them is, let's just get it done. Let's don't procrastinate, but let's get it done. If you have an assignment, get it done. When I teach my university students, they say, if it's due on Friday, you can't do it on Saturday. You got to get it done by Friday.
But you've got a strong core of self-esteem. I think it's like people that build the core, like their abs. If you don't have a strong core, if you've got like big, fat, loose, flabby abs, nothing wrong with that, can still be attractive.
Right.
But you can do every exercise on earth and build your arm and leg muscles. You're still not going to have a strong core.
Right.
You developed it.
Yeah.
Were you born with it?
No, and that's the problem. I was born, I was born this, I hate to say it, but this weak little boy that was just quiet all the time, right? My dad was in the military, a wonderful man, but very aggressive when it came to, not mean or anything, but I expect this and I expect this and I expect this. He was raised in an orphanage, and my mother was Italian, 100% Italian, and so she demanded a lot from me as well. So I think what I did is I withdrew, because I just thought, I'll just be a good little boy. And I was, but I was quiet. It's really, let me just share this with you. There's a Facebook page, right, for all of the alumni that graduated from my high school. And I graduated in, 1967, whatever it was. And so when I put on there, recently they were having a reunion, they said, so Joe, what are you doing now? And I told them I was an actor. I told them I was a poet. I told them I was doing these things, and they go, what? But you hardly ever talked in high school at all. You didn't even go on a date, if I remember right. I said, no, I didn't. I didn't go on any dates. I said, well, how'd you become an actor? And then they were asking all these questions. And so I answered them. And now it's really interesting because they're like my followers. And they go, have you written any poems? Will you send me a poem? But as a young man, I was just quiet. I don't think I was when they say shy, I wasn't really shy. I was just quiet. There's a difference, right? I was just quiet. I was in the background a lot. I'd like to listen and learn. And so, no, I didn't get that until I hit junior college. And did I
Was it a
tell that story
conscious
in junior
effort?
college? No, in junior college, funny, I was a PE major, right? So I'm walking by this window one day and I see auditions for a play. And it's Gore Vidal's Visit to a Small Planet. Some of you remember that one? It came out as a movie with Jerry Lewis, right? So here I am walking by and I see auditions for a play. And I thought, I can act, I think. Never acted in my life. Remember all the voices I used to do, right?
Yeah.
So I walk into this little theater they have, and there's all these actors, quote actors, and they see me immediately and they go, "Who are you?" I said, "Excuse me?" They said, "Who are you?" I said, my name's Joseph, and I'm just here to audition." And there's one kid, I guess it was like a group that they formed that uh, did the plays, right?
Yeah.
They were like, I don't know what you want to call them, a club. They were a club, like a drama club. Yeah. So this one guy goes, "Well, you know that we are actors." I said, "Well, I guess, because you sound like an actor, I guess, because I've watched movies. You sound like
Is that
an
what the
actor."
voice is for?
Yeah, you sound like one. And so I said, "Well, I'm just here to try out." And they go, "Okay, well, good luck." And so anyway, I
And the
sit
funny
down
thing
and
is, Joseph, we
I
all
know,
know that guy.
you
We've
know that
all
guy, right? Yeah, we met this
met
guy, right? And so I go, "Okay, I'll just sit here." So the director comes in. His name is Jerry Greenfield. I'll never forget it. He graduated from Florida State University. And so he walks in and he goes, "Hello, do I know you?" And I go, "No, my name's Joseph." And I said, I saw your flyer and I wanted to try out for your play." And he goes, "Oh, Joseph, welcome, you know." And in those days, I always had a mustache, right? So I was in my 20s, so I looked older.
Mm.
And so he goes, "Yeah, why don't you try out, you know?" And so the rest of them are going, "Are you letting him try out?" You know, whatever. And I know. And Jerry goes, "Yeah, let's see what the guy can do." Well, I could do funny voices. So there was a part of a general, right? An
A
older
what?
general, a general,
Okay.
a general. Well, he
Okay.
was one of the leads, right? One of the leads. General Powers was his name. Well, I thought, well, I can make my voice sound like a general, right? So I get up and I'm reading with that artistic guy, right? And he goes, "Okay, you want to read with me?" I go, "Yeah, I would like to read with you. This would be great." So I start reading the part, but I changed my voice. I'm going, "You by Mr. Creton, where are you from?" And this guy's eyes get this big, like, "Oh my gosh, I think this guy might be able to be the general." And so I read this part, and then Jerry comes and he goes, "That was really good." I go, "I was it?" I'd never been an actor. I go, "Was it?" He goes, "Yeah, I think so." So he calls me up over and over and over. I got that lead role.
Wow.
I became, not bragging, but I became one of the best actors in that department because I started taking acting classes
But
and learning from Jerry
right here,
Greenfield.
but I've got to stop you here. Right here. This,
Yeah.
what you just said,
Mhm.
I worked hard. I achieved something. I'm
Mhm.
proud of what I achieved. I
Mhm.
became the best at what I did in this instance.
Mhm.
I don't know. I can't think of one narrator that can turn around and say that. That's not what I hear from fellow narrators. They
Mhm.
never take the step of,
Mhm.
I'm good. They just
Yeah.
don't. They just like don't get that feeling of I'm good. And I know the feeling as
Yeah.
well. I that negative,
Right.
you ignore the compliments and
Right.
I did that video and everyone flooded in saying, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And then
Right.
there were a couple of comments of, "Ooh, why did you do that?" And guess which ones I listened to?
Right. Right.
How did you find that? Just go, "No, I'm good," and
Well,
accept
I
that.
think I think once you go through the fire, right? Once you go through
Right.
the fire like I went through and went through the bullying and people told me I couldn't make it. And it wasn't rosy after this. I mean, I would walk in with casting directors. I've told Ankita this before, but I walked in with casting directors who told my agent they would not cast me because I had a physical handicap. Literally told them and said,
Wow.
I'm sorry, he's a good actor, but his arm bothers me. And my
Oh,
agent
I
would
hate
say,
people.
I know. And my agent would say, is he a good actor? He's a great actor. Well, and I told Ankita this story the other day. So that person wouldn't cast me. So I thought, you know what? I'm still going to try out for her. So there was a really great role from the USA Movie of the Week that I really wanted. So I went in and I read for the role. And she looked at me like, I thought I told your agent that I was going to cast you. Lo and behold, they cast me. They cast me. And that role was a great role, USA Movie of the Week.
And
It
you
was,
didn't take no for an answer. You kept
I
your
didn't take no
self-belief.
for an answer. Exactly. And I think once we go through the self-doubt, we're always going to have some of that,
Yeah.
right? But what we have to do is just forge ahead and not worry about what people say. I tell so many people that I coach and teach, don't listen to all the negative because that gets in your head.
Yeah.
Watch the positive. I know people start reading reviews on audiobook, right?
I
They
don't
start
read my
reading every.
reviews.
No, but some people do. I know they do, right? But
Yeah.
I'm like you. Yeah, this is what I say. And I said, that's a person's opinion.
Yeah.
I said, if I put us all in one room, because I see this all the time when PJ and those guys have their what do they call it? Where you get to meet the author and then you get 2 minutes or whatever
Oh,
that
yeah.
they
Oh, I
have that
can't. Yeah.
workshops, right? But I see it all the time. And then, we're talking about the chat thing, the chat rooms. And I'll see the person will finish their little piece and PJ will give his thing and the author will give his piece. And then I'll see all these wonderful critics. I'm being facetious, but these wonderful critics, and they're going, oh my gosh, you are brilliant. I didn't realize how brilliant you were. And they just go on and on and on in the chat. And some of them will go, I wish I was as good as you. And I'm thinking, dude, you're paying $400 for this workshop or whatever, and you don't have your confidence for 2 minutes? For 2 minutes? And you got problems, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
all hesitant because we don't want that kind of feedback of negativity. But if you ask for an opinion, I've always told people this, don't ask me for my opinion if you don't want it.
And also it's our
I'm
job.
going to give
It's
you,
our job
yeah,
to be confident, isn't it?
yeah. But don't say to me, Joe, I've known you've been in the business a long time. I want to know what you think of what I just did. I said, do you want the honest opinion? Or do you want me to tell you what you want to hear?
Yeah, they don't want the honest opinion.
And most of them will go, I don't know. How bad is it going to be? And I'll go, how honest do you want me to be?
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't want to destroy anybody's confidence. My goal as a coach is to just make you better. Because I think you're great or I wouldn't be coaching you.
Yeah.
Right? That's the philosophy you got to have, is the fact of, if you're going to help somebody, then help them. Don't tear them down.
Yeah. And
Build
Kim,
them
and it's
up.
the way you deliver the message. Kim says
Yeah.
that's the only way to learn. Kim also says, what was the movie you got?
Oh, dumb luck.
Dumb luck. We'll
Yeah,
all be running.
dumb
We're
luck.
all going to be looking it up now.
Yeah. It's on my film reel that I have on my website. Anytime you want to look at my website, all of my audition stuff is on my website as well. I've been very fortunate. I have a lot of voiceover stuff on there.
I'll link your website on the about section on this video when we put it up.
That'd be great. That'd be great. But yeah, the idea, I think, the philosophy that I'm gaining as I'm getting older is the fact of, I have to put out the best work I can, but it may not be perfect because there's no perfect individuals in life. So you can't do perfect work because we're not
Right.
perfect people. And you were talking about this right before we came on. Sometimes when you become too much perfectionist, remember that 75
Yeah.
hours I spent on my first book?
Yeah.
That's because I didn't know anything about anything. So
Yeah.
I would go over and over and
And it
repeat.
doesn't make it better,
And
especially
it
with
wasn't better.
audiobooks.
It wasn't better. It just made me
And also,
tired.
how are you acting if you don't have the trust in your voice and yourself and your
Yeah.
character?
Yeah.
You'd want me to believe you're lost in the booth? If you're if you're at that level of like minute self-checking and and doubting yourself. And also what we said before this call that I didn't realize, but I've realized it more and more. I don't think I'm really bad at it, but sometimes I would tell myself I was being diligent by checking
Mhm.
things. Are you sure this is
Mhm.
the way it should be? I want to
Mhm.
make sure I'm doing this perfectly and asking questions. And I'm sorry, I just did a little video. If the amount of emails from one little video is
Right.
any fraction of what a normal casting director gets on a normal day, I am for the rest of my life going to ask them as few questions as possible, find a way to find the answer, and only ask if I absolutely ask if I have to. But I'm going to be very conscious of other people's time. And that means I
Right.
have to work hard to build my own stuff, right?
Right. Right.
Be in charge of
Right.
me so nobody
Well,
has to like make me feel better about my having a bad day. And I'm not saying
right.
other people, I'm not saying anyone specific did that to me, but we all do it. We all like,
Right.
how many times have I don't see you doing this, getting on the phone with your friend going, oh God, am I ever going to be any good? Everyone else is, every single
Yeah.
narrator I know has done that.
Right.
I know that because I've been on the phone with them.
Right. Well, you know what? Here's a great lesson. And Keita knows this lesson I'm going to teach, but here's what happened. Uh, she was doing a lot of auditions and she wasn't getting a lot of parts. So I did a little research. And one of my really good friends here in Utah is one of the main casting directors for Yellowstone and all that stuff. So I said, Jeff, in this workshop, whatever, I said, how many are you getting a day auditions? He goes, well, my assistant gets 400 a day.
Yeah.
400 self-tapes a day. I said, a day? He goes, yeah. I narrow it down to 100 a day. And then I have to narrow that down to give that to the director, to like one or two people. And I said, you did say a day, right? He goes, a day. Well, I also did a little research and found out that casting directors and whatever for authors and whatever, they listen to a lot of auditions.
Yeah. I want to be the
And
person that like they know they can go to that will deliver the hard thing in an organized way. They'll have a
exactly,
spreadsheet with the file names and they won't have to deal with me when they're
exactly.
busy. Like I want to be that
Yeah.
person,
Let me give you another example that happened to me. Okay, I went into the studio one time to do a voiceover. Okay. And the producer said to me, he says, look, I know we have an hour schedule, but can you knock this out? And it was a little commercial, right? It was a little commercial. That's all I had to do. Well, I'm a kind of person that I'm prepared when I walk in, right?
right?
I've read it over, I practice it, whatever. And so I knocked it out in 15 minutes. I got $400. Anyway, this guy says to me, he says, I know your agent. I will be calling you often. I said, really? He goes, why? He says, because you didn't waste my time today.
Yep.
You didn't
Yep.
waste the hour. He said, the guy before you almost took 2 hours. And he says, you didn't waste my time. I'm going to call your agent, tell him I want you. And I thought, it's the efficiency,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Be
It's
efficient,
not just our beautiful voices they're hiring
right?
us for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of like in Hollywood. There's a lot of beautiful faces out there, but not a lot of them can act. So don't waste my time doing a self-tape just because you're going to be a beautiful face. Do you have the chops that I'm looking for?
And then once you've done the job, don't seek reassurance.
That's right.
Don't, because
That's right.
do the job and do the next job, because our
Yeah.
job, so what did somebody say?
Yeah.
Our job is looking for jobs. That's our job.
That's
so we
right.
should be looking for
Right.
work if we've
Yeah.
just done.
Yeah. I told actors in a big conservatory that I was teaching or whatever, I said, if you don't like to audition, there's the door. So you better go out of it right now, because if you don't audition, you're not going to get parts.
Yeah, Michael Kostroff says that. I love that. He says, you're not going to book the damn job. So you better learn to love the audition, because you almost always don't get the job. So you be
That's
grateful
right.
for the honor
right.
of getting
That's
to do
right.
what you love to do.
Right. And the other thing, samples, make sure you keep your samples up to date. That's the other thing I've noticed that's happening a little bit on ACX with some of the
Yeah.
authors,
Yeah.
right? Like, you don't sound like that anymore, right? I mean, or you've expanded it, right? You can do more voices. You can do more characters or whatever it may be. Maybe you've even learned a little bit of dialects or accents that you can add. So kind of keep those up to date, because I think sometimes we get into a rut. You know, it's like headshots, right? When you go in and it doesn't look like you, and the director goes, "When did you have this taken?" "Oh, when I was in high school." You know, yeah, but you've changed a lot since then.
I have to challenge you on that one, because I really do think I'm one diet away and a good makeup and haircut from looking like I did 15 years ago. And
Well, you're very unique, though. You're very unique. See, you're more unique than the rest of us. See, I never thought I was going to get gray hair. Never thought of it until I went to the barber shop and it fell in my lap, and I thought, oh my gosh, now I have gray hair. But so no, it's really true. Can I share something else that I think is kind of important? Thank you. You know, I've been teaching at the university, and I teach a creative arts class, and I've been having students write original poems for 23 years. So recently, their poems are just getting so much nicer and so much better. And so I gave them an assignment where I actually took 2 videos of 2 different styles of out loud poetry, it's called, is what people do now, right? And I said, I want you to watch these 2 videos, and then all you had to do for part of the test was come up with an original poem based on the style of either one of those poets, okay? Well, their work is so phenomenal that I approached my dean and I said, I want to take some of these poems and put them in an anthology, because they are so beautifully written by these students. Well, when I told my students, they just went like, oh my gosh, do we have a chance to be published, or, you know, whatever. Yeah. And so not too long ago, one of my former students, who ended up majoring in creative writing and becoming a writer himself, finished his first anthology. And I don't want to get emotional. And he dedicated it to me.
Oh, get emotional. We live off that stuff.
Yeah. He actually wrote at the beginning a dedication of the whole book to me, because I was the first one to allow him to write a short story in my class. And then he published that as part of that anthology. So the other thing that I think we need to do more of is promote people a little bit more. Yeah. Promote your friend. One thing I love about Daniela on her website, and also on what she does with Cup of Joe, she always makes you feel good about yourself. And she
but look at the material I have, Joseph. They're amazing.
But she always makes you feel good about yourself. And the other thing that I love about her is she's honest without being, how can I put this? Without being offensive, right? That's the key, I think, is that with these students, they all weren't great poets, but I noticed that each of them had something there
Yeah,
So
you honor the place
we
that they're at right now, because there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with the place you're at right now.
right,
You're not
right,
like, oh, heard something the other day that I thought was brilliant. There's no such thing as imposter syndrome, because what are you an imposter at? If you're new, you're just new. You're learning.
right,
That's not being an
right,
imposter. You're right where you need to
right.
be right
That's
now.
right, right.
It's,
When I and I'll use Ankita real quick. When I met Ankita, all she had was theater experience, no film acting at all. So it's like we've talked about now. She said, Joseph, I think I was a talking head. And I said, you kind of were. But it's the idea of her passion and her desire why I've been with her almost 1 year now.
yeah.
And I'm working with these young people, because here's what the other thing I believe we have to do. I think we have to pay it forward. God has blessed me with a unique talent, whatever it may be. And I want to pay that forward until the day I can't breathe anymore. Because I think we have gifts and talents, but sometimes we kind of lock them in, or we're afraid to share them. And that's one thing I love about Daniela, when she expresses how she feels about a certain thing or publishes something for us to look at. It's positive. It motivates me. It makes me want to do something. And I think sometimes in this world we live in, this crazy world we live in, we can get wrapped up in the news and the negativity of everything, and we can become, downers,
Yeah,
right?
it's not even real. It's
Yeah.
nothing to
Yeah.
do with our hearts, all that.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing, is how you feel about yourself is important. But by serving others, you forget yourself and you realize that we exist together. We're a team. I think you wrote something one time, and I think I added to it on your website that one time, or on your Facebook page, is that if we don't work as a team, then basically what happens, we become a person like on an island, I think. And as audiobook narrators, that happens. We talk about this in Utah Audiobook Narrator Group. We have a wonderful group. Nancy Peterson's in there, and and BJ Harris, and 400 or 500 books, but we don't get into that aspect. We get into the idea of championing each other. What are you working on? Oh, that sounds great. Wow, I can't wait till it comes out. But we're always championing each other. There's no criticism going on.
Yeah.
It's the idea of, let's be behind one another. Let's make each other better. Let's not worry about the competition. So you got that book. Great. I'm glad
And
you got it.
let's tie that to the core. Let's tie that to the idea that your self-confidence is like your abs. It's your core, right?
It's your core.
So if
Yeah.
that's the way I think you build it. I don't think you build it by going, am I any good? Am I any good? Was that okay? Are you sure that
Right.
was okay? You build it by saying, what can I help you with? And that's what they say about coaches. And Sean Pratt said this was true in his experience. They say that the quickest way to become a master at something is to become a coach, because you then see it from all sides and you
Right.
digest it yourself in a higher way. So by helping each other, not only are we learning from them, but we're learning about ourselves, and we're teaching ourselves that we're capable. So I think that every time you finish something, or you submit an audition, or you finish a book, instead of looking at your reviews, biting your fingernails, am I okay? Are they going to like me? Who can I help do what I do? Who can I share this lesson or share this experience with? Immediately ask ourselves who we can help. And every single time we do that, we're working on our core. It comes back to us.
Right. We gain confidence by the idea of getting feedback from people we trust. That's one thing. And the other thing that we have to learn to do is that we have to trust that person so much that we can move forward with more confidence, right? Instead of going, oh, you're just my friend, you're just saying that. No, dude, if I didn't like it, I'm going to tell you. That's why I am your friend, right? And that's what we have to kind of go off of instead of kind of going, oh, mom, you just like my poem because you're my mom, right? And your mother goes, no, I like your poem because it's a good poem.
You choose carefully
Yeah,
the people you
yeah,
get your feedback from. And in like,
exactly.
if you want feedback from like everyone on Twitter or Facebook, maybe like ask them what they think of your new haircut, not what they think
Right,
of your
right,
like book
right.
that you just poured your soul out to.
100%, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing that that I'm working with this author. He said to me, he said, "You spend a lot of time, don't you?" I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Like when you prepare for the chapter," and I go, "Yeah, I spend a lot of time," and he goes, I'm so glad I knew that because I thought about it, but I didn't know." I think sometimes, and we had Nancy Peterson, myself, had a wonderful workshop that we gave for young narrators, people just wanting to be audiobook narrators. And that's the one question they ask. They go, is there a lot of prep time? and, and because when they were doing voiceovers, right, there's a little paragraph and they do it and go in the studio and that's it. And we were talking about 30 chapters and and they go, 30 chapters. I said, well, no, that's on a good day. I said, when we get a book with 30 chapters, I
I
think
love
some of them
that.
are like 45, 50, whatever. And they go, well, how much prep time? I says, well, it depends how many characters you have, how well the writing, the style. And they were so surprised.
Yeah, people don't know.
They don't know.
I,
They
I
don't
had an
know.
offer come through. I had a writer send me an offer the other day asking for like an 8-hour book, and the deadline was December 2nd, I think it was. And this was like a few days
September
ago.
2nd.
No, December 2nd.
Oh, December. Oh, and you just got it.
Yeah. So like
Oh, wow.
I think the offer from the day I got the offer, they wanted the 8-hour book in 4 or 5 days. And I'm
They
like,
without, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think you guys understand that
No, they
I'm not
don't.
walking around the park talking into my
No,
phone. It,
right.
it's
But see, again, this is our responsibility
to
to go
communicate.
ahead and connect with an author. Yeah. And, we gave a big workshop at the League of Utah Writers years ago on this same thing, but they were all authors in this
Mhm.
conference that we had. And their eyes got so big when Nancy and I was the moderator, and all these different audiobook narrators were there. Their eyes got so big when they found out about prep time because they would just go, oh, I thought you would do that in 6 hours. And I thought, so what about prep time? And they go, we had no idea.
It makes me really proud, though. It makes me feel like one of the elite ninja of the artists. Like I read an article the other day, I think it was Ewan McGregor, somebody, some famous star, and the guy said that I asked him if he would do this audiobook for me, and he said, no, mate, I did like a BBC drama and it was like the longest 4 days of my entire life. That's hardcore. It's
Right.
impossible to hold that momentum and acting for that amount for and I'm like, audiobook narrators, we're like what is the toughest in the military? We're like the Marines. Or what is the absolute toughest you
Right.
can be in the world? That's us.
The Marine. Yeah. Yeah. It's right. And the other thing, I'm going to do my poem at the end, but you were talking about trying new things, right? So my wife's an author, okay? She's published. And I've always wanted to be a poet. I don't know why, maybe because I taught English and whatever. So I've always wanted to be a poet. So I found this poem and this idea that I had. And so I wrote the poem and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be published and I'm going to be a great poet. So I entered all these contests. And it was be like, no, no, thank you. No, no, whatever. It was pretty good, whatever. And so I thought, I'm going to give up on this poem. And then I thought, no, I'm not. So I've been working on this poem for like 5 to 6 years. One poem.
Wow.
And I sent this, I just sent this the other day to Daniela. And I got back this last contest I entered in Utah. And I won the Golden Typewriter Award in the state of Utah for poetry
Do they send
for
you
my
a golden
one poem.
typewriter?
And they sent me a golden typewriter thing on my certificate.
Very
And
cool.
but the thing about that I learned is perseverance, right? Perseverance. You got to keep going at it. You can't quit. There's too many of these young, I'm teaching a couple of young narrators, and they go like, so when do you think, I'm going to get a book? Maybe next year. I mean, because they want it now.
Yeah. Are
They
you willing
want
to work
it
10
now.
years? If it's really your dream,
Yeah.
like I'm going to be
Yeah.
here in 10 years. I
Yeah.
don't know how successful I am, but I'm going to be here in
Yeah.
20 years. That's why people go on about your AI and your quick success all you want. I'm going to be here in
Right.
10 years in one form or another. Okay,
That's
so
right.
I want to hear the poem. You guys, tonight Joseph is going to read us his poem instead of the final closing question. But first, I have a question from the audience for you.
Sure.
Jonathan would like to know, can Joseph do some voices tonight? Talk about catching you off guard.
What voices do you want? What voices do you want? You want me to do different character voices?
Yeah, do some character voices.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, one of the most important things I would like to do with voices is change exactly the way I'm speaking. Well, I'm going to tell you a couple things now. You got to listen carefully, all right? First of all, what I've learned is when you live in the deep South, you don't have any teeth. You just don't. It's part of it, part of just not having any teeth. Well, I'd say, Johnson, did you wear that yesterday? I think you did. Is that a monocle in your eye? Take it out. It looks terrible.
So when I started out trying to get this voice that I have right now, it started to go into a mafia guy, And if I even see you, if I see you near me, and you want to just try, me out, then you do it, okay? You just try it one time. It's all I'm asking, once alone.
You got a stand-up act going there.
Look,
Yeah,
but look, here's the thing. You know what I mean? We come here, we think we can just do whatever we want, whenever we want to do it. I don't think so. You want to be an audiobook narrator, you work at it. You want to work at it, you can be one. All right? You got it? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Before we go. It's so important, right? You don't need Lucky Charms to be Irish. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
All right. Those are my voices. Can I do my poem?
Yes, please. Okay, and yes, so Joseph is going to read the poem instead of the closing question, and we will end the call with that. We'll say good night and farewell to thee after the poem.
All right. This is my mind's eye. I look out this same window each day. Thoughts race through my mind. Who are these people who visit me? Their faces, their smiles are rarely familiar. So many questions. How are you today? Would you like something to eat? May I help you dress? Not well. A sandwich, please. I can do it. Clearly, they cannot hear me. Why is this so hard? I try to talk, but no words. I try to laugh, but no smile. I try to cry,
but no tears. I'm trying hard to speak. Thoughts race through my mind. I can see you. I can hear you. My mind is shouting. Why can't you hear me? I have a visitor today. I'm excited. Maybe I'll remember. He looks familiar. He calls me professor. Was I a teacher? What does he mean? I search for his name. Nothing. I think I remember. Wearing a shirt and tie to work every day, standing before hundreds of students, teaching them how to speak. The image in the mirror, vaguely familiar. Old man wearing baggy pajamas, supported by a walker. Why can't I speak? It was once easy to recall names, dates, places, people, events. I had the memory of a scholar. Now I search to find my name. Another day, another face. She says that she's my wife, but that cannot be. She's too old. She says, I love you. She asks me questions. Are they treating you well? Would you like me to read to you? Can I do anything for you? I try to answer. Yes, yes, please. No, I'm fine. Why are you leaving? I'm trying to remember. Who are you? Oh, hello. She's back again. Same face, same smile, same questions. Who is she? I hear a faint voice behind me. I'm sorry, it whispers. He can't remember.
Wow. Thank you, Joseph. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Thank you.
And you got some acting chops, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're all speechless. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. We will end
Thank
on that
you.
note.
All right.
And thank you for joining us again. You were just the tonic we needed in this crazy kind of hectic time of year. And
Thank you.
and I wish you the very best with your diagnosis and everything. I hope.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you guys for all joining today. That means so much to me, and to have people watching.
It's a
And
big
so-
audience for this time of year because it's usually very slow this time of year. So
Right.
you pulled in a crowd for me, Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
All
thank
right.
you so much.
Much love to everyone. Thank you so much.
Mwah.
For
It'll be
inviting
up
me.
in 2 weeks, you guys. Thank you
All right.
very much. Have a wonderful holiday. And
Yeah.
take care. That was really, truly, stunningly beautiful. Thank you,
Thank you.
Joseph.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody.